Welcome to Bubble Man's World. I'm here with Medtainer John, and we've got a bunch of different sets of bubble bags today here, from the original bags that I have here in the bucket, all the different colors, the rainbow, to the BubblebagLITES, which I think we're actually going to use today, so we can start off right away. John's been so gracious as to bring some beautiful fresh cut nugget that he just cut, this morning?
Well, late last night.
Late last night?
Into the freezer.
Perfect, into the freezer. Fresh frozen, whole plant extraction.
Yeah.
It's always nice. So we're going to run the BubblebagLITES. These are new bags that I just came out with if you're not familiar at all. I have a YouTube video out there talking about them, but basically the lowdown is I managed to cut some corners for people who weren't able to afford the price of the highest quality bags, the original bubble bags, which, you know, I don't scrimp on anything. All the material, the thread, the screen, everything is of the highest quality with the longest lifetime warranty. We've always just, if anything's ever happened to the bags, we've just replaced them. So without that same warranty, but still really high quality materials, 2-3 notches down from the best, which is still about 15 notches up from the current, I guess, marketplace that I'm entering these bags into. The cheaper bags are so shoddily made, and the screen numbers get mixed up, and some of them are using silk, which doesn't hold its form underwater. And so there's all these little things that they cut corners to save costs, but were a direct hit to the customer in the quality that they would end up with, not just in the quality of the bags, but the product even. So I wanted to cut corners for people and only save them money, not at the expense of the quality of the product. So I'll show you how confident I am in the BubblebagLITES. I've got an original kit right here, and I'm happy to run John's fresh frozen nugget, which I know is his medicine. He needs as much as he can get. We can't waste any. He needs to get it out. So that's what we're going to do for him, but we're going to do it with the BubblebagLITES today. So
there you go.
Yeah, nice. You want to tell them a little bit about that nugget?
Medi kush. This is what I use for my medicine. Helps me with my spinal cord injuries, and it's it's my award-winning medi kush. I won a couple cannabis cups with it. The Treating Yourself Expo.
Excellent.
That was 2011, 2012, and it's
beautiful.
It's
smells so nice, and it's like frozen little ice cube nuggets.
Yeah, if you can hear it. Little nuggets. So
one of the things I wanted to mention as I was putting the bags in, I just put the first bag in. You'll notice these bags are different colors from the originals. I've only got blue bags, white bags, and then one red bag. And I'm going to explain real briefly how the color scheme works this time around. The 3 blue bags are the last 3 bags. They're the 25, the 45, and the 73. And how I've deciphered or distinguished these bags to the end user is, in the original bubble bag kit, you can see that you have all the different colors: 25 purple, white 45, 73 gold. So what I've done is, on this bag, the bar of cloth that goes around the bottom of the screen is purple, and so is the thread that sews the bag together. So that is my purple bag, 25. Of course, it's also going to say the number right on the label, but it's good to be able to, you know, kind of connect that to the original bags rather than just think these are all blue bags, which the original Bubblehead would think these are work bags. They are definitely not work bags. And so that goes 25 first, 45 second. Most of you know the bubble bag system works as a sieve stack. You're going from, the first bag in is going to be the smallest micron, or 25 micron, and from there we go up to 45, 73, and I'll go through all the bags as I put them in and explain to you. This was the white one I just put in, this second bag. Third one, which has the yellow band going around the screen, that's the yellow 73. It'll also, of course, say on every bag, next to every bubble bag label, it'll say the screen number. It's a super important information that's pretty standard, but it helps people from mixing up. You don't ever want to put a higher number screen below a lower number screen, or you're going to be very deeply affected by how the resin gets caught and doesn't fall through. People get confused and think oh, I did it wrong, and absolutely you did it wrong if that's happening. So we're on to the first white bag of the kit, which is the 90 micron bag. It's got the black band and the black thread sewing the bag together. So that's our black 90. because it's the Bubble Bag Lite, one of the greatest ways to save costs was to lose the 8 different colors. I love these 8 colors. We have our bags made in Nepal. My partner lives there with his family and has Nepali children. He's got right on the border of Tibet and the beautiful Tibetan flags, and these were the colors taken from those flags, and I've always loved the colors. But to save the end user some money, we went with only 3 different colors, and we were able to pass basically 100% of that savings on to the end user, and thus the price of these bags being pretty much half the price of the original bubble bags.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so now we're going into the 120. 90 to the 120. This is the orange in the bubble bag here sequence. You can see it's the orange bag. It also has orange band around the bottom of the screen, and it has orange thread sewing it together. So just a few more. We got the 190 red, this one, then the 160 red, 190 green, and finally we'll finish it off with the 220, which in this kit is red, but does have the blue band. Just once again to connect it to the original set. To connect it. A lot of people are good with numbers, and some people are better with colors. It's why we did the colors and the numbers. Some people learned the sequence of colors, that it was the order, and they can't even really tell you the numbers, but they can tell you the order of the colors. That's why I wanted to keep these somewhat similar, even though, you know, at first glance they could be pretty confusing to someone who's used to making bubble with bubble bags. They still are great quality and will make bubble just as nice as the originals. They're just not going to come with a lifetime warranty, and I can guarantee say when you have the bubble bags right next, the GSM thread count, these bags here are just really nice. You know, so these are the get your foot in the door bags. These are the I'm making hash for the rest of my life bags. And usually people come to that realization pretty quickly.
Yeah, and I own the ones on the end.
Yeah, exactly. So the Bubble Bag Lights still come with pressing screens. Basically this guy right here, dabbing screen to dab out the moisture from the bubble that's going to be fresh out of the bags. I haven't decided which way we're going to go about doing this today, but I did bring both schools of powderizing your bubble. I've got the Microplane in my right hand here. Usually we take the Microplane bubble, we wick a little bit of the water out, we freeze that patty, and then we grind it through the Microplane onto either a desiccant. You know, a lot of people use parchment paper out there. For me, I don't see it as a desiccant. It doesn't remove moisture or wick moisture. I'm in a high humidity place, so I just know it won't dry my bubble. I don't want to say it won't dry yours, but you will be safer off with a nice thick cardboard. Powderize it properly and you won't get any fibers in your hash. As you could probably see by my photographs, I don't really ever have fibers in my hash. And I get in there pretty close. And so Microplane on the one hand, and then stainless steel strainer on the other. This one's a little bit different. We gently dab the water out with the dabbing screen. It's kind of about learning a little bit of technique here, whereas if the quality of the resin is exceptional, you don't want to dab too much. You want to leave some of that moisture in, and it makes it easier to push through the screen, and it makes it so there's no mess left over, and it's all clean transfer and powderization of the bubble. Wick too much of the water out of the fresh bubble of high quality, and you have to freeze it and microplane it. It wouldn't push. It would just turn into like an oil inside the strainer. So those are the two schools of thought there. Not sure how we're going to go about that. Maybe we'll let John decide. And for now, I guess what we've got is we've got our bags all sort of stacked beautifully here. This is some just wonderful nug that John was just kind enough to just put on here right now. I'm definitely going to show pictures of this. I wish I could take a smellogram for you and share it through smell. But headband, dark reddish hairs, but really exotic purpling light green, super resin coated. Nice smell of funk. This is just great. This is just great to have around. Both John and I are federally licensed, so we're legally allowed to have, I'm personally allowed to have up to 10 pounds of cannabis or hashish, so we're well under our ranges, but thanks for bringing that. That's always a pleasure. I guess what we'll do next, John, is we will load up the bubble now. We've got the water, we've got the ice,
We're ready
We've
to
got
go.
the all-screen bag. Yeah, we're pretty much ready to go here,
I
man.
think I'm just gonna pull this out now.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll grab some ice.
Is all the ice in there as well?
Yes, it is.
I want to talk about ice for just a few minutes.
It's a nice
If you want to
ice.
just throw that back in for half a second. There's a lot of different kind of ices that people use for bubble. Now, of course, I have to explain to people that I'm not just trying to teach one style. I'm trying to teach everyone with all the material they have. So I'm happy to teach the guy who has material that's not that good, but it's exciting enough that it's going to get him in the door and it's going to teach him how to grow better weed and find that better resin. And so I kind of give these general techniques to people. One of the great things to do, if you can, is use good ice. And this Half Moon ice, solid, opaque Half Moon ice, a lot of the refrigerators make it. There's certain ice makers on the market that make it. Half Moons, completely solid as a rock, nice hard edges. This is some of my favorite ice to use when I'm making bubbles. So we have, you know, about 400 or 500 or 600 grams, whatever that weighs there. And then we also have my second favorite ice, which comes from another type of ice maker, another type of fridge. And these are just a smaller version. They're kind of pyramid shaped but long and three-dimensional, and they're also very strong hard cubes with solid ridges and edges. And I just, for whatever reason, I can tell you that stuff you buy at the store, that flake, that chip ice, that is not the stuff to be using to extract your resins. It's just, it doesn't work out for me as well as this. Knowing that we're using this, I'm happy to know we're going to have a efficient extraction ratio.
We got ice from my area of town and ice from your area.
Exactly. No, it's wonderful. And so we're all cleaned up with the wonderful, beautiful water. We've got our bag kits going. I'm going to maybe put these bags... Actually, I can leave these here for now because all we're really going to do is, on camera, show you us loading the herb into the all-screen Bubble Now bag, packing it full of ice, layering it the way we do. It's nice to layer it, even though I can honestly say you could put almost all the ice on the bottom, all the herb on the top, or vice versa, and in the motions of the freezer, melting some of the ice and it going back and forth, it just mixes up. But why not let it start out being perfectly mixed
Let's
up?
do perfect.
You know?
We like perfect.
We like perfect, yeah.
We like perfect. So, you know what? Let's pull in
some fresh nuggets.
Oh.
Yeah, this is really beautiful. Very nice, John. Alright, so if you just want to like kind of get a little load of the herbs in there, just a sec. Kind of get that open for you. And then I'll kind of pack down ice as you make your layer of herb. I'd say probably 3-4 handfuls, and then I could do a layer of ice.
There you go.
Alright, a little more. Now
Nice and cold.
handfuls. Oh, the nugget is so beautiful. It's what I call as a herb broker, herb that sells itself. This is what everyone wants. Using tons of ice is like really the least you can do when you're making this. If you've already spent the money on a grow and lights and the time and the energy and the electricity and potentially the illegality, the risks, and then the time that it takes, and then the curing and the cutting and the trimming and all this stuff, and then getting to the hash making, just use tons of ice. It's kind of one of the keys, the water and the ice. The water is doing the work for you. It's keeping everything buoyant while the resin itself is sinking and falling nicely to the bottom of your screens. Alright, here we go. More ice, more ice. This is looking great, John.
Oh, this is like a Christmas cake.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's
this
like
is what I
perfect.
used to call. This is what I call my Christmas kush. I grew up for
You're
Christmas.
wondering if we had enough ice. I'm pretty excited for you.
Yeah, I think we just got it perfect there.
You want to drain it? Drain the whole thing in there?
Let's,
Excellent. Yeah.
I think that's what I came to do.
And then we put that in there. Mostly fill it up. I always go overboard on the ice. It's just like you can't get enough. Why not use it all? What's the problem? Today, because this is John's medicine, we're going to run it twice. So we'll be running it once. Because I put in this much ice, I doubt we have to put any more in. Just filling it up with the proper cold water will, 99% of the time be enough.
This is so great. You know, we got organic medicine.
Yes, this is wonderful. Totally stocked to the, packed nice. People always wonder how much do you put in the bag. You just saw us. We put about 400 grams of fresh material. I'd say 500 to 600 could have fit. but it's always best to use a little bit less. This system uses 200 grams dried, and I usually use 150 to 170. You know, I always like to leave it a little bit under. So we're gonna go in here with this, and then actually I'm gonna put water in first. If you want to hold that, I'll pour in a slight bit of water.
And I'll explain here that Medi Kush was grown with a nutrient. I use Medi 1, so it's all about medicine for me. It's all about organic, which is kind of awesome.
So I'm bringing the water level up to less than half. This guy will get right in there. Beautiful, beautiful. It does smell ridiculous. Like, holy smokes.
That smells
This
ridiculous.
would be nice to be handed on a beach on a super hot day. It's like, John, I have your lemonade and your sack of ice and cold buds.
Yeah, that's just like, if you could actually, somehow someday we'll be able to send a smell to you, and that would just be like...
Alright, I'm going to go in with a little bit more water and top it up. People always ask, how much water do you put in? Well,
till it's full.
You know, till it's full. Exactly. You don't have to be bringing it above the rim, but you can definitely get it up pretty high. Once you get a tiny bit of milk, it's sticking out about maybe an inch, a half an inch right now, but once we shut it and turn it on, the spinning motion quickly, does its job. It's the ice is going to freeze the wax membranes on the trichome heads. These are going to become brittle. The violent motion of the ice bashing back and forth and hitting those trichomes, it's why I put the ice inside the bag. I get people asking me all the time, you don't put it outside the bag? Put it outside the bag if your water doesn't get cold enough. I'm using wicked freezing, like right off the mountain water that's coming down on a stream, and it's very cold right now, so we're okay with that. We used enough ice. We're going to have perfect temperature in there. I'd say about 4 degrees.
Cannabis weed came out of the freezer.
Cannabis weed came out of the freezer. We're good to go. I think we're going to get this going. We're going to pause. We're not going to film the whole, I'd say we're going to do about a 5-minute mix. Yeah. We'll see. It's
We're
up
going
to
to run
John.
2, so...
Yeah, we're going to run it twice. So I guarantee
so-
the second time we run it for 10 to 15 minutes.
So the first time I just want the essence, like when I do my first balance.
Exactly. Well,
That's the
let's turn it on for you here, John.
Awesome. Gonna get back to the chat over here and actually talk to some people now.
Excellent. All right. We'll be back soon. Water's already almost mauvey pink. Really nice pick color on that water. Wow.
I've never seen that before.
Oh, it's awesome.
You're smiling. Is that awesome?
And you know what? There's a helicopter going by right now, and here in British Columbia, with federal licensing, the hair on our necks is not even standing up. Now that is the power of federal legality. Get that resin out of that water. You're killing me over here. Okay, so we're done. We've finished mixing. The color of the water is absolutely incredible. We don't want to really leave the resin in the water longer than necessary, so we're going to start right away. This particular machine has no drain nozzle on it like the 20-gallon. You just literally drop the hose. And yeah, really nice color on that.
Rose.
Yeah, it is rose. Very rose. So we're going to drain that. We'll pull the bags, collect the hash on the screen. We'll probably end up leaving this, I'd say, for the 15 minutes that it takes us to pull and get the hash out. And once the camera's stopped, we'll do our second batch, and we'll show them what we got out of our second batch, just through a little video clip of the percentages and whatnot. So that way we don't have to show the same thing over and over again. That's almost done. The machine, even full, is a little bit smaller than 5 gallons, which is great because once you've drained your machine, what I always like to do, even with the material still in there, I'd pour more clean water over top of it, through the bubble now, and basically kind of rinse off that kind of foam and any of the trapped trikes that might be sitting along the edge of the unit. So there we go. That's nice and clean. We actually used that ice good. was a good batch.
Awesome.
And I'm excited to see what we have.
Oh, I'm very excited.
So, alright. Okay, we'll get this up here. Now that we've got the bags to work with. It's 5 gallons. For me, I've worked with many big size 20-gallon batches. 20-gallon bags are actually 32-gallon buckets. So they're very, very heavy. But yeah, we'll start by pulling our 220 bag. Now this first bag is the exact same size as the original bag that we had all the herb in, but there's always a little bit of things that kind of make their way out that this bag traps back inside. So I think a real great idea, what I always like to do is have, I did this at REmo's recently, have this upside down, or I guess I could even have it right here, and then a towel. So we just need to grab even a dish towel or whatever, and we'll have that right on top here. And what I like to do is when I pull the bag out, I just put the bottom screen on the towel and it absorbs some of that water out. Makes it nice and easy. Another good thing that I didn't have here today, but I would suggest getting, is a spray bottle. I'm pretty good at manipulating the resin with the water in the bucket, but it does become much easier if you have a spray bottle just to give a quick, nice little spray with the nice, clean RO'd water or whatever water you have access to. This is contaminant, so it's not going to move nicely like the hash will, but how are we doing? Yeah, right on top of the bucket is perfect. And then that just sort of, just one little dab just makes it almost perfect. And then I guess we'll just use this as the natural wick for the hash. Al the Alchemist will love it, because this is, after all, his.
Oh, he does like Bubblehash.
Yes, yes he does. So this is just contaminant. We'll drop that right on the top. It does look pretty fudgy and decent for contaminant, but contaminant nonetheless. Important factor here, and why it's always good to have a friend to help, especially when you're, at this point on the process. The bags need to be cleaned immediately. You can't take your time with this process. It really needs to happen quickly. So John's going to do that right off camera. We have a hose, and how he does that is he squeezes the screen in his hand to flip it inside out. By squeezing the screen, none of this contaminant ends up on the edge of your bag. So you want to grab that and just give it a nice clean rinse. That's the 220, so we're rinsing it off into the ground. As we get down, I suspect the 190 won't be worth keeping, but the 160, which I know a lot of people don't even keep, I've been finding nice heads in those heavy, thick, indica dominant strains that are grown indoors. They produce a nice big bulbous head, and the 160 is worth smoking in my opinion. I pulled it out and it's been dabbable, full melt, so kind of hard to not be in support of that. Nice very low amount in the 190, which is not bad at all, because I consider it a contaminant bag, which means there wasn't too much contaminant in this batch. Keep in mind we've run 400 grams of fresh, so that's anywhere from 100 to 150 grams of dry. When I did that same amount with REmo a couple weeks ago, we got just under 10 grams with that. So, alright, here's another one. I'll take that one. Excellent. So another good thing with these bags is when they're wet, you make sure they're properly cleaned and properly rinsed. You want to leave them out to dry. You don't want to fold them all up dry. They're wet. They're just like a tent, and you know how a tent goes funky if you fold it up wet. It's not a good idea to do. So, these bags are pretty sturdy. They'll just stand up on their own. But put them somewhere where they can air dry out for a short period of time. Alright, we're down to the 160. Generally the bag where we can potentially start to see some decent heads. Not always, but we can see them in this bag sometimes. This color is very blonde. There's not a ton of it in here, but it's very nice color. For 160, that looks pretty ridiculous. Maybe just go around and lean it on that chair. That's fine. Thanks, man. Oh yeah, this looks really nice. Also a small amount, but I'm never too worried about the small amounts out of the top 2-3 bags. You can see right away why we would use these 3 different bags though. This is nice enough that I'll actually save this resin. There's not a ton of it on the screen, but this 160 I'll gladly dip into my 120 because the quality is there. I can see that it's there. And even though you've done this, and the screen might look clean, you've used terpene-soaked water, and so it should still be rinsed. I know water is not a solvent, but water does act slightly as a solvent in this process by breaking down water solubles. And how you know that that's happening is by the fact that the water is no longer clear after you've mixed, some cannabis for 5 or 6 minutes. So up to the 120 here. This bag's draining a little bit slower. Of course, I could give it a few little jerks and it would just release right away, but it shows that there's more resin present in this than the last few, and there definitely is. It's a nice little puck.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Good.
I'll end up taking photos of each grade, not necessarily in the bag because I don't have another camera right off by hand here and I don't want to take the one I'm using, but I'll show you all of them once they've been pulled all together in one pile. One nice thing to mention is the hash gets easier and easier to pull out of the bag as you get up the grades. As you get into a higher grade, the hash just seems to come off a lot nicer. This is a nice big spoonful.
Wow. That's awesome.
Rock that out. It's extremely, the color is unbelievable. It's just completely blonde. Really, really nice. I didn't have any doubts that it would be. Keeping in mind that's the 120. You know, that 120 right there was probably nicer than most people's 73 that I see. Yeah.
Exciting. Look at the color of that water.
I know, the color is really pretty. There you go. It's very
I'm
purple.
not getting a chance to see this. I'm busy working here.
I know, you're helping. You're doing good. You're helping extract your medicine. Alright, so this down to the 90 micron. You see, it's just a wonderful amount. It's just floating around like sand in there.
I love that.
Oh yeah. This is a nice bubble. I would bet that you will potentially say this is the nicest bubble that you've had from your herb. This is really going to be nice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Fresh frozen, that's why.
Yeah, fresh frozen's a good
Lots of things come into factor.
Absolutely. Here, let's just make a little room. I'm noticing right now we're getting a little bit close with all these resins. This one needs to get up to.
You know the screen, maybe?
No. If you put it all proper, it seems to usually fit. Alright. Pull the 90 out. 90 is a nice healthy amount. I'd say there's, it's hard to say, but maybe 2 or 3 grams here, just in this particular bag. You know, the last one I think I pulled about 1 gram or 2 out as well. And I think we'll probably be right on par for around, 10 plus grams.
We both grow the same kind of goodness.
Yeah, this is looking great. Very nice. Well, anytime you have extra resin that doesn't want to let go, it's easy to just dump it into the next bag. Really good tip. Clean your spoon. Clean your bag of all these valuable resins. Clean it inside your next bag, so you're not losing that resin. When I'm pulling a lot of bags and I have sort of a thing set up where I've got 40 or 50 or 100 pounds of material, what I'll do is I'll have a bin. It's a small square Tupperware bin, and I have it half filled with water, and I usually leave quite a bit of ice in there, and I clean most of the bags between 120 to 45 in that bin. And then at the end of the process, you want to rinse that one, John? At the end of the process, I basically run it all through a set of bags. So we're on to the 73. This one's already holding like 3 gallons of the water. People wonder how to drain these bags properly. It's really not that difficult if you just give it a bit of a lift. When you lift, the resin jumps off the bottom of the screen and it lets the water rush through. So I hear people having a hard time with the 25 and the 45, and I'll show you how fast I can drain those bags as well. It doesn't take much time. Sometimes it's nice to put a little oxygen, a little air in the bag, and kind of slide your hand down and use the air itself to push out some of that extra moisture, some of that extra water. You get the 73 here. This is looking really nice and creamy. Just as nice as the last one, if not even nicer. Ooh, yeah. And once again, pulling a solid couple of grams out. So that's always nice. Something the bubblehead always likes to see. A good amount of resin coming out of his bags. How come mine doesn't come out full melt like yours? Here's a question I get quite a bit, particularly from kids that are buying buds, ounces, spraying them, and making some oil. But they're wondering why they're not when they take the same material and try to dry sift or wet wash, their resin doesn't melt. So one of the reasons that can happen is that, of course, when you're making a solvent-based extract, it's going to melt the resin heads. It'll be melt no matter what, even if it's taken to a shatter or a hard temperature or a hard texture. It's still going to melt the minute you hold a flame to it, because it's the oils extracted from the plant. The same thing extracted with the wax membranes. If it hasn't been grown properly, those wax membranes will be very thick, almost like a Tootsie Pop, with a very small amount of goodness on the inside and a very thick membrane on the outside. And that's not the hash we want. It's generally not the stuff that gives good yields. It's not the stuff that makes inspirational hash. And that stuff is usually people focused on two things, which are prohibition-based, and they're vegetative yields and flowering periods. How much will I get, and how fast will I get it? So when you sort of move away from those two things, you get into a situation where you can start growing resin and focusing on it rather than the plant, vegetative plant yields and the flowering periods. You can focus on the resin and the maturity of the resin. So. All right, we're going to pull the 45 now. Don't even worry about it. Just lay them down, honestly. It's all good. I'll go through them later. We'll probably be running another batch through them, so as long as they're clean. Even if I'm going to run another batch, I still clean the bags.
Oh, yeah.
And rinse them right away, because you see how fast this resin can dry. So we're now on to the 45. We've got some 45 and some 25. We've got our 190, our 160, our 120, our 90. Actually, no. This is 45 right here, so this has to be 73. Yeah. This has to be 90, 120, 160. Oh, this is 220.
220.
That's right. The 220 was throwing me off. It's kind of brown and trippy. It almost looks like a collection of pistillate hairs that are, overripe. Doesn't it?
Yeah.
All right, 45. One of the nicest ones to collect because it just comes off the screen so darn nice. I don't know if it's because of the smaller heads or what it is, but it usually comes off really nice. Ball of 45. A little bit more there. Lots of different ways to collect this. You can also, I don't always do it this way. I'm almost doing it this way just out of the ease of how it's set up. But often I would have a bowl, and I would take this bag and I would set it inside the bowl, and I would wrap the outsides around the bowl, and I would make the screen real tight. Then you can use like a sharp sort of plastic business card, and it just picks up really nice. This works just as well too. I've made enough batches that I can be still pretty clean and efficient doing it the way I'm doing it, but if you really don't want to lose resin and you want to make sure your stuff is more secure, get a bowl about the size of the bottom of a 5-gallon bucket and flip these inside of that bucket each time. I could even be doing it right over this bucket. You don't even really need a bowl. I could literally be doing the same thing. Basically like this, get the bucket stretched over, and just get that screen tight so you can pull and get the resin off of it. Once you get the screen tight, it's pretty much a breeze to get the resin off. So this is an upside down bucket, won't be very hard. Boom, something like that. Then you can scrape it off so nicely that it's becomes pretty easy.
Okay.
All right, so if you want to rinse that one off, it's that's the inside there. So it'll have to be flipped inside out again. And we'll do our last 25 micron bag. The one everyone hates to pull. Yet I tell people, would you really throw away this bag and not use it when it could pay for your bags? It could be given to someone for medibles. It's still medicine. I'd say we have about 2.5 gallons of the 5 gallons of water in this bag. You can see the way the resin's pooling on the screen, that it's letting a very small amount of water in. I'm going to slightly jerk it upwards. Yeah, just give it a little jerk upwards. The water, the resin, it all lifts. You do this maybe 6 or 7 times. I'm already down to a liter of water. And a few more times and I'll be down to a couple shots of water. And then you can do the air, which will also push some air through with the resin. I don't really want to squeeze the screen too much, but you can kind of give it a little bit of a squeeze. This last one, the 25 micron, which is always a little bit funny. Okay. Another way to do what I showed earlier with the bowl. A guy like me with a big hand can basically hold the screen in my hand like that and also scrape off the hash. Just a matter of holding the screen tight, letting the hash come off. And that's the 25 micron right there. Really nice and creamy. I'd say right from the 160 on, this is going to be full melt. Just really nice creaminess.
That's what we were aiming for.
It's what we were aiming for.
That's what we wanted.
Well, you know, the full melt is not decided here in the hash making, but it's decided at home in your grow room. And so that's really where that's decided. How well did you grow your resin? All we're doing is isolating heads. Don't let anyone fool you that's extracting resin using water and ice. It's a real simple process. You follow simple instructions like use plenty of ice, don't overmix, don't leave the resin sitting in the water too long, and of course the most important thing that often gets overlooked, use the best material you can use. One of the cool things about water hash is that it's very clear to you when you haven't used the best material. The end result of what you get is not inspiring, it's not melty, it's hash that is just kind of meh. And so when you get, that's like, to me, that is the word of God. The bags are the word of God as to what quality resin you have. If you run your material through the bags and it comes out full melt, well, that's the bags telling you that that's some good resin.
That looks...
So this looks great. I want to get back to it soon. We're probably going to either microplane this or stainless strain it onto cardboard soon. Once we get to that point, I would like to take a few macro photographs of this as well. So
Sweet.
we're gonna be back soon.
Excited. Peace, man.
At this point, we're done with our secondary bucket. We're even done with our water bucket. At this point, I usually pour this water into my roses, which are, you can't see, but they're all along the back behind the camera here. I have a whole bunch of roses planted, and that's usually where that bubble water goes.
Water for roses.
Next up, bags are all rinsed and dried. We're going to put them all, in a nice cold, or not cold, but warm, dry place. Let the bags dry off properly so that they can be put away later. We're going to toss the material unless John keeps it. He'll probably keep it because he's going to want to find out any amount of resin that's left in there. See if he's going to do his decarboxylating of the herb and capsulize, or if he wants to do a soaking in some coconut oil. It's all options. You can do lots of different things with your bubble material once you've done bubbling. The important thing is you've got 90+% of the resins extracted off, and it's just sitting there waiting to be microplaned. I'll put this one in the freezer. The one that's in the freezer now I'll take out, and we've decided to go with the microplaning because we left it a little longer. So we're going to take the frozen patties of bubbles, we're going to shave them gently over the microplaner, and as it falls, I'll be moving it along the cardboard so that it falls in a way that it spreads thin. I don't want the resin to spread thick. I don't want it to pile up on itself. The greater the surface area of the resin, the greater the ability of the desiccant to wick the moisture out of the hash, which is the cardboard absorbing the water with the help of gravity. So we'll be back soon. Alright.
I'm used to this point.
Okay, so Alright, so we're down to the last part, the part that often takes the longest and the most important part, the part that you really don't want to mess up. And this is the part where we powderize the bubble hash and we get it spread thin. You know, there's two schools of thought, not only the two schools of thought of strainer versus microplane, but there's also, well, what seems to be me against everybody else. I really still promote the use of a desiccant. I like the idea of the cardboard wicking out the moisture from the hash. I know that hash doesn't air dry very often. If you're in a low humidity place like Arizona, sure, no problem. But in some of these high humidity places like the one I live in, maybe you can hear the 100% humidity we're having right now, i.e. rain. It's falling all around us. It's nice to have the use of the cardboard to help you along the way. And the cardboard is only as good as the surface area you give it to work on. So spread that hash thin and break it up into very small powder. I've got the bubble here in a cooler full of ice. We've frozen the patties. Today we're going to be microplaning. So simply put, I've got the frozen bubble right here on another piece of cardboard. You can open that up. We've got our 220, which I'll plane first. It really won't even have to be planed because most of it is just contaminant. It won't even really push through. This is the 220 bag. I don't even often use it, but this would have just ended up in our 190, which probably wouldn't have been the worst thing that could happen because the 190 is really not that great either. Still planeable though. So all we're really doing is like a cheese grater, taking this hash and bringing it over the bumps of the microplane and then letting it fall thinly spread on the cardboard. So we'll do up to the 160. And then we'll probably put it in the ice again and get it cold again. It's really great to keep this stuff as cold as possible while you're doing this. With REmo's hash, we were even freezing this microplane, but right now we're outside and it's a pretty decent cold temperature, so the microplane's holding a nice cool temperature. Alright, so there's that. You give the microplane a little smack with your nails, and that'll... So it's quite efficient in its use. Both the strainer and the microplane have its place. So we've done the 220, the 190, and the 160. Let's do some of the 120. I'm going to take the 120 and put it on here. Take the rest of this and get it back into the cooler with the ice. Getting it to freeze again for easy microplaning. So here we have the 220. I've marked down on the cardboard the numbers of screens, and I've used a pen to block off areas for each resin to sit within so that the resins don't get forgotten and lost in the mixture. I like to know what grades I'm smoking on, and as does John, who will actually be smoking on this. I'm sure I'll have a little, but this is John's daily medicine. This is what he takes so he doesn't have to take pharmaceutical pain medications and other sort of health risk drugs. Alright, so a couple of little chunks there, that's not so bad. We're going to, yeah, a little bit more here. Nice amount on this batch. And of course there's more in the fridge. More in the freezer, yeah, it smells nice. We use a spoon often to give it that last little whack. Get all those little bits and pieces out. The little pieces fall, no problem. Got some stuck to the fingers. Comes off pretty nice though when it's still moist. That's the key to leaving a little bit of water in there. Okay. There we are with our 120. It smells just great. Smells great. little bit of, just in case we have any more tiny little bits fall off, we'll catch them on the cardboard rather than lose those valuables. Alright, so next up, oh, didn't that come off just in one beautiful slab? Next up we have the 90 micron. And I have a feeling this 90 micron is going to be taking up the space of both the 90 and the 73. Because we just aren't going to be able to fit it in this one little small box that says 90. Really feel that stickiness on that. It's nice too, this microplane isn't too sharp. I can use my fingers to grind down the hash and not worry about pushing my skin or anything through the microplane and adding, you know, unnecessary contaminants to the medicine. Oh yeah, that's nice. It's just falling apart right on top of the microplane, which is even nicer. Got some chunks to roll through there. Give that a little whack with the spoon. Really nice looking bubble. Microplaning it up. Normally I wouldn't be sitting down in this sort of awkward position. I'd usually stand up and plane or strain, and I would use probably even more cardboard than I'm using right now. I would have probably put just this 90 on one of these pieces of cardboard. We have a small batch here, so it's not overly important, and I don't want to get into having like 20 pieces of cardboard here right now, but yeah, normally I would potentially use a little bit more space on the cardboard. In fact, I think we're going to stick with this one now. We're going to put the 45 and the 25 on a separate piece. So I'll get that moved over to here. There we go. A little bit of hash on the fingers that we can clean off later. Excellent. The old Velkom, the Dutch hotel key card. Gotta like it. That's legit. A little bit of hash that we can potentially get right back onto the board. Nope. It's very good. Nice and sticky. Allowed me to do most of the microplaning. I still have the 45 and the 25, so we might as well actually get to that. Card, a little bit of hash there. Get down to our last batches. Great thing if you got a lot of sticky hash on your fingers and you got one of these little guys handy. This is just an ice bottle. You can just hold your fingers for a while on this and get that hash real nice and cold, and it'll just crack right off your fingers. You can of course use gloves. I see some people using the rubber gloves, same ones that you would trim with. You can wear those while you're making your bubble as well. Kind of like a hands-on feel. I like to feel my resins, and I'm not too worried about you know, getting a tiny little bit on my fingers because I know how to get it off properly. Yeah, even the moisture from the outside of the thing just brought that off beautifully. Beautiful! Alright, so next up we have some 45 micron. Or sorry, we have some, let's see, we did our 220, our 190, our 160, our 120, our 90. Next up we have our 73. We're going to do our 73. That'll be the first one. Try not to stand up because I know my head will go right into the camera, but we'll gently see if we can work this through here. That really broke through nice. It's nice to have more room than less with the... Oh yeah, look at that. Just came right off nice. That's beautiful. Get that halfway there. Do the other half. This is also 73. This is coming apart quite nice for microplaning. It's yeah, it's interesting. It just sort of pushes through gently. I guess it's just the right temperature. It's cold enough. Give that a little whack. Okay, so there's some 73. Little pen mark. Next up, 45. It's the lighter color of the two. I can tell, even in this dark that I'm in right now, you probably noticed that it's gotten substantially darker since we started. Microplaning it up. It's ideal to, like I said, I'd usually stand, and when I stand, I can really operate the planer over how it's landing a little bit better. It sounds a little bit silly, but it is true. Last up, we're going to do our 25. Always a little bit more awkward doing this sort of procedure and kind of also operating the camera and all these other things. This isn't usually where I make my bubble, obviously. When I'm in a proper bubble lab, it looks a little bit more professional. I've got everything organized and set up, but just wanted to still show you all at home who are watching the video that it's really important to do this procedure, to get this bubble spread thin, to get it powderized, and to get it in a situation where it's going to actually dry properly. I'll be taking it probably inside and getting it into something that's covered. Sometimes I'll put it in a stove that's not going to be used for a few days. It's a great place to keep it away from cat hair, dog hair, dust, debris, any sort of people, kids, whatever, knocking it over. It's a pretty valuable thing, so we like to try and take the best care that we can. This will dry for 3 to 5 days on the cardboard. I'll get some macro photographs of it and I'll add it to the video, and you'll get to see what we made here today. So thanks for watching and being a part of things, and if you have any questions, feel free to message me on my Facebook, Bubbleman Fresh Headies account. Get in touch with me through my Instagram, my Kick, BC Bubbleman. My email is bubbleman@bubblebag.com. You can check out my website at bubblebag.com or freshheadies.com for all these products that you saw today. And yeah, keep it bubbly, and we'll talk to you soon. May the full melt bless your bowl sooner than later. Peace.